The first day of the COP30 climate summit closed in Belém do Pará in Brazil, with the presence of worldwide leaders ahead of the UN conference to be held next week. President of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, emphasized that, despite all the aggression from the US government, Venezuela will continue to work towards the integral development of all sectors of Venezuelan society. Palestinian authorities reported massive displacement in Gaza due to the shortage of houses caused by the Israeli aggressions. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Sophie Fernandez from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The climate summit began this Thursday in the Brazilian Amazon, a time for debate among world leaders to address the climate crisis. Details in the following report by our colleagues Andrea Vieira and Sebastián Soto.
The city of Belém awoke to reinforce security for the climate summit, with over 150 foreign delegations in attendance. At the gate of the meeting place, indigenous people, black resistance communities, and fishermen protested to demand direct resources for those who preserve the rainforest. This demand was also supported by those participated in the meeting.
When they tell us that we should look to indigenous peoples, that there can be no COP, that there can be no summit, that there can be no project for a territory without being with those who live in the territory and who are actually in the territory.
As a prelude to COP30, the Climate Summit aims to define the lines that will be adopted by negotiators during the United Nations Climate Change Conference.
Climate justice is an ally in the fight against hunger, poverty, racism, and gender inequality, as well as in the promotion of more representative and inclusive global governance.
2024 was the hottest year in history, exceeding the limit of 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. The first COP held in the Amazon is an attempt to postpone the end of the war in the face of the interest of a political system that puts profit above life.
If we stop the atrocities of capitalism in the forests and tropical rainforests, we will be protecting humanity.
Africa, Asia, Europe, Oceania, the Americas, all were represented, but the absence of the leader of one of the world's most polluting countries was noticeable.
The absence of the United States here. The fact that Mr. Donald Trump is not coming, the fact that he personally denies science and is leading his society with his eyes closed towards the abyss, and with it, humanity.
COP30 has just begun, but it already has its first concrete project, the Rainforest Forever Fund, an initiative by Brazil that already has a pledge of $1.5 billion to be allocated to countries that preserve forests. A glimmer of hope in the midst of an extreme storm, responding to the demands of the communities protesting outside the summit.
Andrea Vieira e Sebastián Soto, teleSUR, Brasil.
In other news, the death toll from Typhoon Kalmaegi that hit the Philippines since Sunday has climbed to 188 people, with 135 more missing, the country's National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council said on Friday. Philippine President Ferdinand Romulaes Marcos declared a state of national calamity due to widespread destruction caused by Kalmaegi and in preparation for the impact of a possible super typhoon, local media reported. Typhoon Kalmaegi made landfall in the Philippines on Tuesday, triggering massive flooding that submerged houses up to the roofs, swept away countless cars, and displaced thousands of villagers. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, Typhoon Kalmaegi lashed with fierce winds and torrential rains after it made landfall, knocking over trees and damaging buildings in Gia Lai province on Friday. Vietnamese state media reported 2 deaths in Gia Lai and Dak Lak provinces. According to authorities, over 537,000 people were evacuated, many by boat, as flood waters rose and landslides loomed. Vietnam's central provinces were already feeling from floods due to record-breaking rains. Kalmaegi is forecast to dump over 24 inches of rains in some areas. Moving on to the United States, the Trump administration informed the U.S. Congress that it currently has no legal justification to attack Venezuela. Trump administration officials explained to lawmakers that the United States does not plan to launch an attack within Venezuela and that there is currently no legal justification for targeting ground forces. According to sources with knowledge of the matter, the meeting was led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, and a staffer from the Office of the White House Legal Advisor. In classified session, the legislators were informed that the opinion issued by the Office of the Legal Advisor in the Department of Justice to justify attacks on vessels allegedly used for drug trafficking does not authorize attacks within Venezuela or any other territory. On the same date, the United States Senate rejected an initiative that sought to prevent unilateral military intervention without the consent of the legislature. The promoters of the resolution argued that Congress should not cede its authority on matters of war to the executive branch. In October, Senate Republicans blocked a similar effort aimed at preventing continued U.S. strikes on alleged drug trafficking boats off the coast of Venezuela. The 1973 War Powers Resolution requires the President to inform Congress within 48 hours of the introduction of forces into hostilities and to cease actions within 60 days without authorization from Congress. This 60-day period expired on Monday, November 3rd. Meanwhile, the partial government shutdown in the United States has lasted 37 days, and its effects are already impacting millions of passengers at the country's airports. The government shutdown in the United States, the longest in its history, is causing delays and cancellations at the country's airports. It's worth noting that the pressure is mounting on air traffic controllers, who are working without pay, leading to absenteeism and delays at terminals like Washington, D.C. Faced with the situation, the Air Traffic Controllers Association is urging them to avoid a strike. The government is attempting to implement relief measures, but so far, no agreement has been reached to reopen the administration. And now we have a short break coming up. But first, remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. The president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro Moros, emphasized that, despite all the aggression from the U.S. government, Venezuela will continue to work towards the integral development of all sectors of Venezuelan society. In this regard, during his visit, the head of state reiterated the call for direct democratic elections on November 23rd. The objective of holding this day of discussions on these projects is to guarantee the active participation of the people in the selection of commune projects. Therefore, President Nicolás Maduro also instructed the members of the Bolivarian Armed Forces of Venezuela to accompany the people's power in this debate process and to reinforce the synergy between the military, the people, and the police. The president also praised the country's defense system as a fundamental shield to combat and neutralize the constant foreign threats and attacks that seek to disturb the peace of the people.
They believe that life is a bad Hollywood movie where they, the supremacists, Rambo, they all win and we are always the bad guys. They are the good guys. With all that they do, they bomb, they despise, they kill. And always the Latinos, the Mexican, the Colombians, the Venezuelans, the Caribbean, the Africans, we are the bad guys in their movies. They can have their bad movies.
For its part, the United Socialist Party of Venezuela, PSUV, called Thursday to fulfill the task set by the political party in response to the needs of the population. PSUV Secretary General Diosdado Cabello urged militant leaders to listen to the voices of Venezuelans and to cover the areas that were approved at recent party congresses. Cabello assured that the proposal is part of the initiatives of President Nicolás Maduro, who urged the political organization to get up to speed with the situation in the country. The party leader recalled the presentation of more than 30,000 community projects and the National Popular Consultation that will be held on November 23rd. Our correspondent Álvaro Fragua continues his journey across Venezuela. Today, he brings us the story of the community of Yaguapita in Miranda State, specialized in the cultivation and production of cacao. It's a clear example of how social production units drive economic growth while supporting each other along the way.
In the fertile lands of Miranda State, cacao is grown through community teamwork and with support from national and international programs aimed at boosting production. Local farmers have joined forces to improve bean quality and open up new markets.
We have a nursery that spans 800 square meters. It was created through a partnership between Venezuela and Turkey. Here, in Yaguatipa, our community was chosen as a pilot site by the Etica Agency, working together with the Socialist Corporation of Venezuelan Cacao.
Once harvested and dried, women in household transform cacao beans into delicacies ready to enjoy. They craft artisanal chocolates using family recipes blending coconut nuts and pure cacao.
Then we pour the chocolate mix and add the filling. Some are made with coconut, others with pineapple, peanuts, or assorted nuts. After that, we place them in the refrigerator and they're ready.
To work around cacao generates not only income but also knowledge. Neighbors share workshops and training to strengthen their cooperatives and prepare new generations of chocolate makers.
It all started through my sister, who was also interested in the craft. She took a course, learned the process, and then taught me. That's how we began, and here we are today.
Producers take advantage of every part of the fruit, shell, pulp and husk, showing that cacao also represents a model for sustainable production.
From cacao, we can truly make use of everything. The pulp shell can be used to make shakes, the cacao pulp to prepare drinks, and the husk becomes cacao tea.
But climate change and water scarcity threaten these crops. Farmers warn that local streams are drying up and the plants are suffering as a result.
Right now, our biggest challenge as cacao producers is climate change, because water levels are far too low. Streams and creeks are unusually dry for this time of the year, especially in October.
Despite obstacles and the United States blockade, Venezuelan cacao exports rose by 10% in the first half of 2025 compared to the last year, a source of pride and satisfaction to all involved.
Of course, there's an enormous sense of satisfaction, and that goes beyond earnings, beyond the money. That's the feeling of fulfillment, something that truly fills us as human beings.
Miranda's cacao is much more than an export product. It is a testament to a people's belief in a community work, solidarity, and their own strength. A millenary tradition woven through countless life stories. We invite you to write to us on social media as seen on screen and share your story.
Esto es Venezuela en Movimiento y yo soy Álvaro Fragua y nos despedimos hasta la próxima.
Moving on to Mexico, the country affirmed that there will be no intervention by the United States on Mexican territory and emphasized its historical principles of sovereignty. This Thursday from the National Palace, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum reiterated that the country maintains a relationship of cooperation and not subordination with the United States government. The president emphasized that Mexico rejects any type of foreign interference and that its security and diplomacy policies are within the framework of a bicentennial understanding that prioritizes collaboration between equals. Sheinbaum also stated that she has confidence in the country's armed forces and in the state's ability to guarantee security in the face of any real threat that may arise.
There will be no intervention by the United States. There will be no intervention, simply because the people are united against any form of interference or intervention, because no Mexican, except for a few who are the absolute exception, wants intervention or interference. But secondly, we have given priority to dialogue, and we have a framework of understanding with the United States government. That under no circumstances includes interference or intervention, but rather collaboration and cooperation. Mexico is a free, independent, and sovereign country.
We have a second short break coming up. Before, we invite you to visit our Facebook page at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to watch our top stories, special live coverage, and much more. Follow our page and activate the notification button to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Finally, a short break, but we'll be right back with more from the South. Don't go away. Welcome back. Palestinian authorities reported a massive displacement in Gaza due to the shortage of houses caused by the Israeli aggressions. According to the Gazan government, the Israeli regime left more than 288,000 Palestinian families homeless during the 2 years of destruction of the Gaza Strip, causing a serious housing crisis. On the other hand, the United Nations Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, informed that the Palestinians are facing the worst displacement in decades and has estimated that around 81% of all structures in Gaza have been damaged or destroyed. So far, the Zionist regime has committed more than 200 violations of the ceasefire agreement that came into effect on October 10th. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, a new Israeli attack leaves 1 dead and at least 8 injured in the south of the country on Thursday. According to the Emergency Operations Center of the Ministry of Public Health, Israeli aircraft bombed several towns in southern Lebanon, violating the November 2024 ceasefire agreement between the Islamic Resistance Movement Hezbollah and Israel. For its part, the movement warned that Israel's goal is to dismantle any resisting capability and weaken the Lebanese state, and reaffirm its commitment to Lebanon's sovereignty and its right to self-defense. Meanwhile, Lebanese authorities announced that these new attacks constitute a flagrant and serious violation of the ceasefire agreement negotiated last November. Moving on to Spain, Spanish activists called for an end to Morocco's occupation of Western Sahara on the 50th anniversary of the so-called Green March of 1975. In Barcelona, activists held a debate that argued that the anniversary should be seen as an opportunity to raise awareness of the struggle of the Sahrawi people and their right to self-determination. The UN resolution of October 31st follows the line presented by Morocco in 2007, which seeks to achieve a fair solution between the parties. In view of this, the Polisario Front asserts that this measure essentially contradicts international law, especially the attempt by some parties to prejudice the results of the self-determination process. In other news, 2 people were killed and 5 others are in unknown condition after a 60-meter tower collapsed during a demolition work at a decommissioned thermal power plant in the South Korean city of Ulsan. Rescue workers pulled 2 people to safety shortly after responding to the tower collapse Thursday afternoon. An official with Ulsan's fire department, Kim Jong-sik, said another worker was rescued but later was pronounced dead at a hospital. Crews have also located another worker believed to be dead. Kim said the search for the remaining 5 people was suspended Friday morning due to concerns about unstable rubble and will resume after stabilization work. Over 340 rescue workers and around 90 vehicles and equipment had been deployed to the site for search and rescue efforts. Moving on to Pakistan, on Wednesday, thousands of pilgrims gathered to commemorate the birthday of the founder of Sikhism, Guru Nanak. According to data provided by the Pakistani authorities, at least 40,000 people gathered in Nankana Sahib, the birthplace of Nanak, to participate in the celebrations. This is the first major trip from India to Pakistan since the border between the two countries was closed last May due to bloody clashes that left more than 70 deaths on both sides of the border crossings. Despite the fact that the corridor linking the two countries remains closed, the festival will continue, running until the end of November and including events in the city of Kartarpur, the burial place of Guru Nanak. Meanwhile, in India, elections are being held in the eastern state of Bihar to elect a new government. In this context, millions of people are going to the polls to elect the 243 seats in the legislature. The results will be announced on November 14th and will determine whether the National Democratic Alliance, led by the ruling party, will maintain its dominance or face the growing discontent over the economic and governance issues. These elections are being held against a backdrop of public concern about unemployment, public order, and alleged irregularities in the review of the electoral rolls. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For Telesur English, I'm Sophie Fernandez. Thank you for watching.